I recently had an amazing opportunity to spend the day with Helen and Jackie at the House of Colour. I'd never realized that colour was so important from an intrinsic and an extrinsic level. What they did with me is they, first off, opened my eyes to the importance of colour both in wardrobe and in spaces around us. They actually worked with me very closely as consultants, looking at my colour palette, my skin tone, my body shape, and how I present myself with confidence in either my personal life or in a business context.
It was really great to meet Dale, looking at his colours and his wardrobe.
We are visual beings.
Oh, of
Humans
course.
are visual. Whether we like it or not, we are responding to the visual stimuli. When we meet someone, we're making decisions about them, and our job is to get you to look the most authentic, credible you that you are.
We began the day by looking at all the different colour palettes against my skin tone. Now, I've talked about colour in a lot of our workshops in the past, knowing the human element and the emotional connection we have to colour, and how colour can impact on the way we feel in either a room or in an environment. But I actually hadn't connected it to my personal brand. It really connected me to the parallels that we talk about in customer experience and in leadership. First one I began to look at was attention to detail. Things that maybe I had been letting slip a little bit, simply because I did not put colour in the same context that Helen and Jackie did.
You live somewhere up in the top half of the wheel here. The warm yellow-based colours work better on you.
I saw lots of parallels between what Helen was doing with me on the colour chart and how we need to put more attention to detail into not only our organizations, but also customer experience. I often say the thing that separates a 3-star and a 5-star hotel, apart from some facilities, is really that level of attention to detail. I was surprised by how large the color palette was to begin with, but how they actually mixed and blended with not only my skin tone, but also in the way it made me feel as an individual. What Helen really introduced me to is how things blend and come together in a very positive way. The parallel that I began to think about there was about leadership. Sometimes as leaders, we can focus on what's not going well, as opposed to focus on what is going well. And to me, that is very much the difference between transformation and change. It's not about focusing only on the negative, because that is change. With transformation, it's actually building on so many positives that we already have. And that is definitely what Helen introduced me to, was looking at what positives blend and how they can complement each other, not only together as colors, but also how they complement me as an individual.
That's you. You look pretty good.
Quite like my wardrobe.
Good. Well, that's good.
After Helen mapped out my color palette, I sat down with Jackie and we began to explore my choices in clothes and also what worked best for my body shape. I have to say what I identified first was that I'd actually fallen out of love of shopping. I began to make very different choices, whether I didn't shop at all and I used I need to lose weight as an excuse, or I would just go and buy in bulk. A lot of my choices in the clothes that I was wearing seemed to follow a very similar look.
Whether you're somebody who loves shopping or hates shopping, it's possible to transform it.
I was always kind of on the cusp waiting, I'm going to lose some weight, and all of that seems to hinge on, well, don't buy anything now. As I explored that thought through the concept of business transformation, it became really clear to me how so many organizations get stuck. Either we're using excuses not to move on or not to try new things, or we just continue doing the same thing over and over again. It's like flipping the coin.
Absolutely.
Where do we start and where do we begin the engagement process?
It really works when you're looking at coaching of any kind of business. Coaching tends to work on all the exterior behaviours, but it's coming from the interior values.
Yeah. When I've explored personal brand with many of my clients in the past, I always did it from a behavioral point of view. One question that I would ask is, what 5 words do you want to have said about you when you leave the room? Well, those are the actions that you're going to have to do in the room before you leave. But through Jackie's lens, I saw even a bigger world around. Yes, the behaviors are still there, and we have control of those behaviors and the stage in which we play on. But that actually began even much before entering the room. If I was to take the bridge values, pushing creative boundaries, celebrating uniqueness, collaborative energy, real and fun, and I adapt that into a personality, that's kind of who I want to be.
How did you?
That's me.
I get that.
Yeah, clothes and color are one of the ways in which we show our emotions and show our confidence to the world. Jackie also walked me through the wardrobe as I brought a selection of my clothes with me on the day. The interesting thing about that is you don't have to be spending a lot of money when you're making better choices, because it's about quality versus quantity. And the direct correlation that I could see in any business transformation program or in any organization that I worked in, it's about the people that we get working for an organization. Doing value-based recruitment or engaging our population in a way that they represent it as one, living our values every single day within an organization. So it's not about having to do things en masse, but it's having to do things of quality.
What we've been doing today with Dale is going through him individually. How do I align his physical appearance with the character and the personality that's on the inside? When Dale walks into the room, our first impression of him is as accurate and as authentic as it can be. Because when the visual and the verbal messages align, we have a congruent, consistent image, and that's where the authority sits.
It definitely gave me an opportunity to see the world as they see it, a world that is full of exploration, a world that is full of fun, and definitely a world that's full of color.